let's meet the teams for today's game.
Trevor Bruner, sophomore.
Adam Hall, senior.
Kendall Campbell, sophomore.
Christina Jackson, freshman.
Dakota Ritchie, sophomore.
Russell Zillman, I'm a sophomore.
Isaac Vogt, sophomore.
Caleb Wood, senior.
Nolan Spanhauer, senior.
Madison Jolly, senior.
Zoe Bryant, senior.
Alex Mantell, senior.
Max Seymour, senior.
Christy Lannon, senior.
Katie Stottle, senior.
Abby Morris, senior.
Okay, we know the rules. We met the teams. Let's go ahead and get started with round one. Which pottery takes its name from the Italian for baked earth? Danville, Adam.
Clay.
Not clay. You guys can confirm? Takes its name from the Italian for baked earth.
What was the question?
Need an answer?
Rock.
Not rock. Terracotta was what we were looking for. Terracotta. To whom is the expression 15 minutes of fame credited to? Danville, Adam.
Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol is correct. Who is the god of the Hebrews? Tolono, Caleb.
Yahweh.
Yahweh is correct. In what year did the motto, "In God We Trust," first appear on coins? No answer. That year was 1864. What was the first television show to jump the shark? Danville, Adam.
The Fonz.
Not correct. You guys can confer?
No.
Seinfeld.
Not Seinfeld. It was Happy Days. You were close. Happy Days. The Fonz was on Happy Days. After the Great Fire, what gift did Queen Victoria give to Chicago? The answer is those were books to restock their public library. What reptile, according to ancient legend, was able to live in fire? Tolono, Madison.
Iguana.
Not the iguana. Need an answer?
Snake.
Not the snake, the salamander. Salamander was what we were looking for. Who founded the colony of Maryland? No answer. The correct answer is Lord Baltimore. Baltimore, Maryland. What 1999 Keanu Reeves effort did Shift Magazine anoint Geekdom's favorite movie? Danville, Adam.
The Matrix.
The Matrix is correct. What kind of gas does not undergo chemical reactions under a set of given conditions? What kind of gas does not undergo? Adam, Danville.
Noble.
Not noble. You guys can confer?
Helium. Helium.
No, inert gas. Inert is what we're looking for. Which U.S. president spoke Dutch at home with his wife? Which U.S. president spoke Dutch? Correct answer is Martin Van Buren. Ishtar Gate served as one of the entrances to what ancient city? Ishtar Gate. The correct answer is Babylon. What was the first nation to give women the right to vote? What nation? Tolono, Caleb.
France.
Not France. You guys can confirm?
Spain.
No, New Zealand in 1893. What is tunsurphobia? Tunsurphobia. That is a fear of haircuts, which I obviously have. What is the first name of hornblower created by C.S. Forrester? Danville, Christina.
Horatio.
Horatio is the correct answer. Good job. What does DSL stand for? Correct answer is digital subscriber line. What was the name of Martin Scorsese's first full-length movie? Danville, Adam.
The Aviator.
Not The Aviator. You guys can confirm?
No answer.
No answer. Correct answer is Mean Streets, right before Taxi Driver. What band won Record of the Year honors at the 2011 Grammys? Danville Adam.
Arcade Fire?
Arcade Fire is correct. Good job. The president is the only one who. This president is the only one who remained a bachelor. Danville, Christina.
Buchanan.
James Buchanan is the correct answer. Good job. What was the first Hollywood movie about the Vietnam War directed by a Vietnam vet? No answer. That was Platoon, directed by Oliver Stone. How many different letters are used for Roman numerals? Danville, Kendall.
6.
Not 6.
5.
5. No, it's 7. 7 altogether. What fruit is a cross between a tangerine, a grapefruit, and an orange? Danville, Trevor.
Tangelo.
Tangelo is correct. Which two metals are alloyed to make pewter? Danville, Adam.
Zinc and copper?
Not zinc and copper. You guys can confer.
Iron and magnesium.
No, tin and lead. Tin and lead make pewter. Okay, it's time for this round's video question. This round's video question goes to Tolono Unity.
My name is Matthew Hurt, and I teach film, literature, and writing here at Parkland. My question for you is, what is the name of the British-born film director, known as the Master of Suspense, who directed such classic thrillers as Psycho and Rear Window?
Why are you looking at me?
You got anything?
Shakespeare.
It's not Shakespeare.
I don't know.
Say it.
I don't know what else would be.
Spielberg.
Spielberg. Let's find out the answer.
The answer is Alfred Hitchcock. He began his career in the film industry in the 1920s as a title card designer. But by the time of his death in 1980, he had directed more than 50 feature films, many of which are considered classics to this day.
Okay, tough break on the video question. Back to the regular questions. Ag is the chemical symbol for which element? Danville, Kendall.
Silver.
Silver is correct. There are two sports figures nicknamed Iron Mike. Give me one of their last names. Tolono, Caleb.
Jordan.
Not Jordan.
Tyson.
Mike Tyson is one. Mike Dick is the other Iron Mike. Yes. What is the London subway system called? Tolono, Nolan.
The Tube.
The Tube is correct. What was the president of the Confederacy? Who was the president of the Confederacy during the American Civil War? Danville, Adam.
Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis is the correct answer. What is a dried plum? Danville, Adam. Need an answer?
No answer.
You guys can confer?
Prune.
Prune is a dried plum, correct. What Scandinavian nation is famed for its high taxes and canned hams? Tolono, Caleb.
Norway.
Not Norway.
Sweden.
Nah, Denmark. Denmark. As used in surnames, what do Mac and Mac indicate? MC and MAC. What does that indicate in a surname? No answers. It stands for son of. Son of Donald. What was President Rutherford B. Hayes referring to in 1876 when he said, "That's an amazing invention, but who would ever want to use one of them?" 1876. Caleb, Tolono.
Telephone.
The telephone is the correct answer, yes. He was wrong. Who was the teacher who died when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded? Danville, Adam.
Sally Fields.
Not Sally Fields, no.
That's a girl. No answer.
No answer. Krista McAuliffe was the name we were looking for. The Mariposa War took place between 1850 and 1851 in California. Who was the conflict between? The Mariposa War. The answer is Native Americans and miners during the gold rush. What does IPO mean to Wall Streeters? Danville, Adam.
Initial public offering.
Yes, correct. Which animal is featured on a Ferrari emblem? Danville Adam.
A horse.
A horse is the correct answer. What tour was Michael Jackson rehearsing for when he died in 2009? What was the name of that tour called? The answer is that was the This Is It tour. What sign of the zodiac is represented by a pair of scales? Tolono, Madison.
Libra.
Libra is the correct answer. Good job. What was Dr. Jekyll's first name? Tolono, Caleb.
Henry.
Henry is the right. Good job. Who played Barney on How I Met Your Mother? Danville, Kendall.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris is correct. What region in southwest North Dakota is known for its sandstone formations and vast fossil record? Danville, Adam.
The Badlands.
Badlands is correct. How many noses does a slug have? Danville.
0.
Not 0. You guys can confer?
3.
3. No, he has 4 noses.
Oh.
How many people signed the Declaration of Independence? Danville, Kendall.
56.
That is exactly right. Good job. 56. In 1921, the first Miss America was crowned. Who was she? You know how you don't know this? Margaret Gorman. Washington, D.C. was the first Miss America. That's the end of our first round. We'll come back with a lightning round right after this.
The class I took was the Highway Construction Careers Training Program. I took that course pretty much because I was tired of working dead-end jobs and I was ready for a career. And me taking that class, I felt like it was going to fast track me into a career. My favorite part of the class would have to have been the heavy equipment training when we got to ride, you know, different heavy equipment. My future goal would be I want to sell commercial and residential properties, like buy properties and sell them, pretty much flip properties.
Okay, Danville leads Unity 140 to 60. Let's go ahead with the lightning round and see what the score is after that. What is the first name of the adopted father of Alvin, Simon, and Theodore? Danville, Kendall.
Dave.
Dave is correct. The Chipmunks. Which country ruled Panama before the U.S. backed Panama Revolution in 1903? Which country? Tolono, Caleb.
Spain.
Not Spain. Colombia is the answer we're looking for. What was the title of the play Lincoln was watching at Ford's Theater the night he was shot? Danville, Adam.
Our American Cousin.
Our American Cousin's right, by Tom Taylor. What's the most expensive real estate on the U.S. National Parks edition of the Monopoly game? Tolono, Alex.
Boardwalk.
Not Boardwalk. Yellowstone is the answer we're looking for. That's the National Parks edition.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
What amphibian did Pliny the Elder suggest he tied to the jaw to make his teeth firmer? Correct answer. Tolono, Madison.
Frog.
A frog is correct. Good job. What quiz show was hosted by Groucho Marx? Danville, Christina.
You Bet Your Life.
You Bet Your Life is correct. Good job. What state maintains its old state capitol as a museum because of its Abraham Lincoln connections? Tolono, Madison.
Illinois.
Illinois is the correct answer. Who first painted the famous Dogs Playing Poker series? Tolono, Alex.
Andy Warhol.
Not Andy Warhol. C.M. Coolidge was the first one. What gift was given on the 4th day of Christmas? Tolono, Madison.
Partridge in a Pear Tree.
No, that was 4 calling birds. Partridge was the first.
Yeah,
one.
that was the first one.
Which king of France is known as the Sun King? Danville, Kendall.
Louis the 14th.
Yes, correct. Queen Elizabeth I suffered from anthropophobia, which is a fear of what? Anthropophobia. Correct answer, Tolono, Abby.
People.
Not people, roses.
Oh.
What is the name for a full moon that occurs in January? Tolono, Abby. No answer. The wolf moon. The wolf moon. How many eyes are there on a coconut? Danville, Kendall.
3.
3 is correct. What breed of dog is Nana from the Disney's Peter Pan? Peter Pan dog. Danville, Kendall.
Border Collie.
Not a border collie. Saint Bernard. Rub-a-dub-dub. Who are the 3 men in a tub? Danville, Kendall.
Butcher, baker, candlestick maker.
That is correct. That's the end of our lightning round. Good lightning round there. We'll come back and tally up the scores and be back with our final round right after this.
What can your phone do?
Okay, Danville is ahead of Unity. Let's go ahead with the final round and see what the score is after that. Which cartoon character called himself the roughest, toughest hombre in the West? Danville, Adam.
Speedy Gonzales.
Not Speedy Gonzales. You guys can get together and figure them up.
Speedy.
Need an answer?
No answer.
No answer. Yosemite Sam is what we were looking for.
Oh my gosh.
What body organs are home to your alveola? Danville, Adam.
Lungs.
The lungs, yes. Alveola, whatever.
Alveola.
Babe Ruth started his major league career with what baseball team? Danville, Isaac.
Boston Red Sox.
Boston Red Sox, yes. A group of geese on the ground is called a gaggle. What is a group of geese in the air called? Tolono, Katie.
A gander?
Not a gander. You guys can confer?
Flock.
No, in the air they're called a skein. A skein. What famous military figure had a warhorse named Copenhagen? No answer. That was the Duke of Wellington. Who was the voice of Princess Anna in Disney's movie Frozen? Danville, Kendall.
Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell is correct. What songwriter with a German-sounding name is responsible for God Bless America? German-sounding name, Berlin. Irving Berlin is the answer. Emerald and aquamarine are varieties of which gemstone? Emerald and aquamarine. Danville, Kendall?
Jade.
Not jade. You guys can confer.
You say that.
Garnet?
No, beryl. In what year did the Boston Tea Party occur? Danville, Isaac.
1774.
Not 1774.
1775.
No, 1773. Oh. Everybody was all around it there. What is the hottest planet in the solar system? Isaac, Danville.
Venus.
Venus is correct. A.A. Milne is best known for creating which beloved children's character? Danville, Kendall.
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh is correct. How fast is the speed of light? We need the answer in miles per second. Miles per second. No answer. 186,000 miles per second is the speed of light. What is the main ingredient in the soup borscht? Tolono, Max.
Potato?
Not potato. You guys can confer.
Carrots.
No, it's beets. Beets.
So close.
Who was the Reich Minister of Propaganda in Nazi Germany from 1933 to 1945? Danville, Isaac.
Heinrich Himmler.
Not Himmler. You guys can confer. Need an answer?
Adolf Hitler.
No, Joseph Goebbels is who we're looking for. What is the train that runs from Paris, France to Istanbul, Turkey? The answer, Orient Express. Which Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle wears orange? Danville, Kendall.
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo is correct. What Midwest National Monument was dedicated to Thomas Jefferson? Danville, Kendall.
The St. Louis Arch.
Yes, the Gateway Arch. What is the Japanese dish of seafood or vegetables that have been battered and deep fried called? Tolono, Max.
Tempura.
Tempura is correct. Good job. Which team won the first 2 Super Bowls? Danville, Isaac.
Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay Packers is correct. What member of the herpes virus family is the cause of mononucleosis? Tolono, Abby.
Zoster.
Incorrect. You guys can confer. Your answer? Correct answer, Epstein-Barr. Epstein-Barr. Which Dickens character teaches Oliver Twist how to pick pockets? Correct answer, the Artful Dodger. Where is the Bikini Atoll? Isaac, Danville.
Midway Islands.
I think we'll count that the Pacific Ocean, so yeah. 1774 Rhode Island was the first U.S. state to ban this. Tolono, Abby.
Slavery.
Slavery is correct. Good job. Okay, it's time for this round's video question, which goes to Danville.
I'm Seth Mendelowitz, and I teach English here at Parkland. This 18th century essay, with 3 words in its title, written by the same author as Gulliver's Travels, is considered by many to be the greatest satirical essay in the English language. In it, the writer, with a deadpan tone and cold calculations, proposes that the wretched poverty and starvation of the Irish can be alleviated with this simple solution: to sell their babies as food. What is the title of the essay?
A Modest Proposal.
Modest Proposal. Very good.
This is Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal. Slipping in a crack at the settlers of the New World, Swift writes, "I am assured by a very knowing American of my acquaintance that a young, healthy child well nursed is, at a year old, a most delicious, nourishing, and wholesome food, whether stewed, roasted, baked, or boiled, and I make no doubt that it will equally serve in a fricassee or ragout."
Okay, fantastic work on the video question. Let's finish up the game. What president declared 2 national Thanksgivings, one in August to commemorate the Battle of Gettysburg, and the other in November to give thanks for general blessings? Danville, Isaac.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln is correct. What is the Bermuda Triangle also known as? No answer. The Devil's Triangle is the other name for the Bermuda Triangle. What popular feature did zany cartoonist Gary Larson terminate in 1994? Danville, Adam.
The Far Side.
The Far Side is correct. He didn't want the humor to become stale. Identify Shakespeare's play by the list of characters: Prince of Aragon, Prince of Monaco, and Portia. Tolono, Abbey.
Hamlet.
Not Hamlet. You guys can confirm?
Twelfth Night.
Now, Merchant of Venice. That's what we were looking for. What is mayonnaise made of? Danville, Adam.
Eggs.
And
Vinegar.
not eggs and vinegar. You guys can confirm? Need an answer?
No answer.
Okay, eggs and oil. Michelle Bachelet was sworn in as the first female president of which country in 2006? Bachelet, probably is how you say that. Danville, Isaac.
France.
Not France. You guys confer?
Yeah. Italy.
Chile. Chile is the correct answer. From what article of dress do we get the word sabotage? Correct answer is wooden clogs. That would be fun to look up later. What character does Jim Parsons play in The Big Bang Theory? Danville, Kendall.
Sheldon.
Sheldon Cooper, yes. Which Irish city is famous for producing fine crystal? Irish city. Fine crystal. Danville, Kendall.
Dublin.
Not Dublin. Need an answer?
No answer.
Waterford crystal. In what city was the Wright brothers' first flight? Danville, Kendall.
Kitty Hawk.
Kitty Hawk is correct. Who assassinated Robert F. Kennedy? Correct answer, Sirhan Sirhan. Which state is nicknamed the Yellow Hammer State? Correct answer is Alabama. Which are the 3 Baltic states that became part of the Soviet Union during World War II? Correct answer is Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. In what year will Halley's Comet next be visible from the naked eye from Earth? 2061 is the correct answer. In regards to the Philippines, what general said, "I shall return"? Adam, Daniel.
Douglas MacArthur.
Douglas MacArthur is correct. Which act established the organization of the U.S. federal court system? Isaac, Daniel.
Acts on number 3.
No. Let's confer.
Federal Organization
The Federal Organization Act.
No, it's the Judiciary Act of 1789. And that's the end of the game. We'll tally up the score and be right back with the winner after this.
I have had interns in my department from Parkland to office professional graduates, and both are just fantastic. Very well prepared. They're knowledgeable in Microsoft Office products, knowledgeable in calendaring, knowledgeable in just communication. Their communication skills are really, really good. I would say definitely hire them. In all areas, I mean, I'm a Parkland grad myself, not specifically from Office Professional, but I feel like Parkland really prepares students for any position they're going to take within the community. And we have several of our employees that are currently Parkland students, and it's preparing them for other positions within the organization.
Okay, in game 2 of the Parkland Challenge, Danville defeats Unity 350-40. We'll be back with the championship game from this round right after this.